Hey everybody, welcome back to the channel. Thank you so much for once again joining me. It's tea time, but it's tea time live. Thank you so much for being here. I hope you have your cup of tea, cup of coffee, or as I always say, maybe something harder. Today we're going to have Trevor on with me. We're going to be talking about the week's events. What happened? TGIF, people, TGIF. Thank God. I can't believe it. The whole week is gone, but it's kind of a good thing. It's a good thing. Anyways, let's go ahead and grab Trevor here. Hey, bud, how's it going, my friend? How are you doing?
Hey, I'm doing great. How are you?
Good, 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 good. Thank you for being here. Another week together for a Friday, hanging out, shooting it, you know?
Yeah.
It's good. It's good.
It is good. It's a little busy morning for me, but I'm glad I was able to crank out what I had to do and be able to join you today.
Yeah. It was Fridays always get crazy over here for me too. It's like you have to, it's like the culmination of the entire week always balls up into one big mess,
Yep.
usually on Friday. We're trying to get everything done before the weekend and don't want to bring it into the new week and stuff. So, but that's all right. So today we're going to be talking about some photo stuff, and we're also going to be talking about some of the Starlink stuff. There was a lot of things going on. So as you can see in the thumbnail, there is 3, maybe even 4 videos that I'll be talking about. Things that just so you guys know, if you've never been here for any of the lives, it's kind of casual. We just hang out and shoot it, so to speak, and talk about any of the videos that I did and any other information that came out during the week. So it's Friday. Normally that's when I'll do it. If I miss a Friday, maybe I'll do it on a Saturday or Sunday or something. I like to do a recap if possible. So we're going to have these lives going forward. Right now I'm using Starlink. So if things get a little fuzzy, furry, or kind of nasty, let me know because I need to know all this stuff. Let's see. Before we even get started, I see Trevor, you're here in the chat.
I am.
Dovian, we have the photography. You're here. How are you doing, my friend? Thank you for being here. Thomas is here. Thank you. Another tea time, isn't it? It is absolutely tea time. So to start out with, let's get into the Nikon stuff before we get into the Starlink, because the Starlink thing kind of went a little nuts, and I'll get into it a little bit more when we get into that subject. But to start out with, I did a piece that talked about Nikon and why Nikon has, let's say, moved away from DSLRs, and people were debating and going back and forth, will they be coming out with a successor to the D850? And my thought process, Trevor, was the D850 was by far the top selling Nikon product like ever. And if you remember way back when the 750 was out and before, there was a lot of recalls, and it was recall after recall after recall. And you remember I said that if they do not fix this recall problem with the D850, that's going to be the end of them, because people were just pissed.
Oh,
Well,
yeah.
they fixed it, and the D850 just exploded, and they just sold they cannot make enough D850s. That's how many they were selling. So my question was, should they create another, let's say, D850? And I was speculating, how about if Nikon came out with a D850 FC, like the ZFC, which is like that retro vibe thing. So maybe it's like they're going out of DSLR type of retro camera, where maybe they use the exact same sensor and then they add in some of the niceties that they do with the latest and greatest stuff, but do it in that DSLR that still use the old mount and whatnot. I think it would be kind of cool. And I put it out there, and some people say, absolutely not. There's no way that they'll do it. They're all mirrorless now. And then other people said, you know what, if they came out with a D850 and a retro type of, rangefinder camera, I would buy it immediately. Give me 2. So it was kind of a back and forth. I mean, I don't know. What do you think?
Yeah, I mean, I think something like that would be very interesting. It would be cool. I mean, given the market though, um, I I'm not sure that they would do it. I mean,
Right.
we were just kind of talking a little bit beforehand about DSLRs in general and how everything is really moving towards mirrorless. And while the 850 is a great camera, to change up the form factor, put it in a different body style or whatever, I mean, that's a lot of R&D, that's a lot of work. And it's something that they just may not want to invest in right
Right.
now, simply because, I mean, times are tough. I mean, a lot of
Yeah,
people just aren't buying these multi-thousand-dollar cameras.
exactly. No, it's
You know,
true.
with the current 850 configuration, they can always iterate on it, you know, still move product out there, but without having to create, you know, a ton of new molds and things like that.
Right. Let me, you know what? Let me go ahead and share my screen here. People see this right here. This just came out, I think it was a couple of days ago, or maybe even yesterday. It was Petapixel. They had Triumph of the DSLR era. And then you'll see here the D500. This might add to some of the information on which way they're going to go. It says Nikon Japan has officially marked the D500 DSLR as old product, signaling that the company will cease manufacturing the camera. The last new D500 cameras around the world will be those already on the shelves. So that to me means that we see Nikon just going away from the DSLRs and really trying to grab hold of mirrorless and just running down that path. So my speculation that they would do a D850 retro vibe or not just might not hold water. It just seems that they're
Right.
just, I think, will no longer create the DSLRs. Now, the problem that I have with it is the same thing that I have with them not coming out with, or let's say canceling all of their compact cameras. Now, we see that Canon just closed one of their facilities, so they're really reducing the number of compact cameras that they're creating also. So they're all going to do it because they feel the pressure of the smartphone, which we get. But
Right.
the side to that, though, is I feel that some of these lower cost cameras get new blood into their platform, get them in the door, so that then later on they can sell them, let's say, higher end, upper end product. The same way holds true with the way Canon used the M series. The M series, they brought in so much new blood with the M series, the M50, now M50 Mark II, M6, and so on and so forth. The M series was their top line. I mean, that's their bread and butter. They made so much money. That's what made Canon the #1 mirrorless camera seller on earth. When everyone thought it was Sony, it was actually Canon. Well, now Sony has taken over, but they're literally neck and neck. I think one's like 28% of the market, and I think Sony, is 31 or 32%. They're really close. Canon is getting really close, considering they've only been doing this for a couple of years, right? So,
Yeah.
I don't know, Trevor. I mean, what do you think? What do you think?
I mean, I think the compact camera line has its place, but I don't think that its place is for the average consumer, excuse me, anymore. I think the compact camera is really for the creator, somebody that wants to step above the cell phone, but doesn't have the budget to go to a full-blown mirrorless, or even a DSLR or something like that. I mean, again, we've talked about this in the past, but the little Sony, the ZV-1 and the E10, the Canon M50, those are the perfect size for creators, for vloggers,
Right.
people who are out and about and on the go. It's nice and compact. They can take it off, the little tripod, throw it in their pocket. That in that scenario, it's a great camera. So I think Nikon, if they jumped into the game with a compact camera, but something that was really designed for that creator, I think they have a market there. I know creators are always looking for the next best thing, just like photographers. I mean, this is just the next iteration of the photo industry. We're going from professional shooters looking to do, product and event photography and commercial work. Now we're going into the creator space, and these devices are being used in that sense now. So
Yeah.
I think
Yeah,
there's a
yeah.
market for it.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, the way I see it is Sony had the A7 Mark III. That was that camera that brought in a lot of new blood. I think all camera manufacturers need to have that one product that just does so well at bringing in new people. I just think it's important. Like, for example, on the Nikon side, we see the Z9 as being the big thing that's touted right now, obviously as their flagship. But I just think that the price that it's running makes it very difficult for anyone new coming into that line unless they're professionals. Paying $4,500 plus, the time you're done with lenses and everything, you're every bit into 6K and more.
Oh yeah.
It makes it very difficult to get on board. Whereas like the A7 III, for example, you're in at under $2,000 and now, they got you, so to speak. So I don't know. I think every company needs something like that. And what product is it on the Nikon side? I really don't know. I don't know. I mean, you have the Z6, the Z7, you have a Z5, maybe a Z50 is it? You have now the ZFC that is doing really well. And that's one of the things that I was talking about with the D850. If you had a D850 FC, let's just call it, obviously not, but the ZFC, which is like a Z50, but retro style rangefinder with all the dials and everything, very Fuji-esque. A lot of people got into that. A lot of people raved about it. They're like, this is just cool. Even though it's the same damn thing, they just put in a couple extra niceties, but it still was just cool. It looked cool. It held in your hands cool, It just people liked it. So I think that's very important. But I don't know. Compact cameras, I think they have their place, but there's going to be no one making them anymore. I mean, who's going to be left? And the same thing with DSLRs. I mean, the only company that's going to be left making DSLRs in a year or two will be Pentax. That'll be about it.
Yeah.
I don't know. I don't know. It's kind of interesting. I'm going to be doing a video. I didn't release it yet. I'll probably release it either tomorrow or maybe Monday. And I talked about how Nikon just released a statement to, I believe it was the folks over there in the UK, that they're going up on all of their prices, like 10 to 20%, everything.
Wow.
Effective immediately, basically, or pretty close to immediately. The one thing, or the couple of things that aren't going to be affected is their sports optics. I think they call it accessories, and the one camera, the Z9. Everything else up. So the Z50, the ZFC, the Z6, the Z7, everything is going to go up in price, 10, 20% or more. But the Z9 will hold fast. I think that was a smart move, but these price hikes are going to, they're brutal. And a lot of people don't know this because Canon does everything like, I guess, kind of like behind the scenes. They don't say anything, hush, hush kind of thing. They went up about 5 months ago on everything. And now, just a couple of days ago, they said they're going up on all of these products. And it was literally a list of about 11, 12 lenses. Those are EF lenses as well as RF lenses. And those prices are going up about 10 or 20%. So I'll get into that more. You'll just watch my video coming up either tomorrow or Monday. And I get into it a little bit more deeply. But we see that these camera manufacturers are just, they're trying to hang in there because of everything that has happened with the pandemic, with the shortages of chips here and there. We have logistical problems. The truckers aren't trucking. It's just crap everywhere. So I mean, I'm sure everyone is seeing that out there. It's not just us, here in the U.S. If you're in another country, you're probably feeling the exact same type of problems when it comes to logistics and it comes to pricing and gasoline and just everything has just been going up and up and up.
Yeah, everything is going up. And, honestly, I think the manufacturers are going to take this opportunity to jack up prices. I mean, on the last week when we were looking on B&H at the cameras that were out of stock,
right?
And a number of Sony cameras and such. And I think when they finally go to get these cameras back in stock, they're going to come back at a higher price. I mean, it's all about supply and demand, availability. When there's less products available, they can charge more for them. And us as consumers have no choice but to pay the price if we want to get into it.
Yeah. And just like you said, when we did look that up, all of the prices, when we're talking about Nikon right now, but out of all of the companies, Canon and Panasonic and Sony and Fuji and all of them, we looked up all of the different cameras I did on that video. And the majority of all the manufacturers' products are in stock, like -1. So it'll be like 7 cameras are in stock, 1 is missing, that's out of stock. But when we take a look at Nikon, the only cameras that were in stock was the I believe it was the Z50 and the ZFC. Every other camera was out of stock, every one. So, you know, by them saying they're not going to go up in the price of the Z9, I guess it really doesn't matter because there is no stock. So there is no Z9. You can't get it.
No.
You know, it's just not available. They did say something interesting. Now, everyone that's here on the live is getting this beforehand, before I put the video out. So you get a sneak peek. But what they were saying, what Nikon was saying, is that if you order anything today, all right, you will not receive it until after the price hikes. And the price hikes were like April 1st, I think it is, or somewhere around there. Don't quote me. You have to watch the video. Let's just say April 1st. You're talking a couple of months down the road. So if you order something today, you're not going to get it for at least 2 months, right? That's what they're saying, at least. And that probably has to do with supply. Now, of course, if you find a mom and pop that has, you know, a Z6 sitting there or whatever, yeah, you're going to be able to get it. But anything new, any kind of new orders, they're just not available. That's just simply it. It's just, they're just not available. Mark Wright says, which system, I guess you'd think, is, in your opinion, is the best glass for mirrorless cameras? And, you know, honestly, when it comes to mirrorless cameras, Sony has been doing it the longest, right? So they have, their G Master lenses are spectacular, really solid. Fantastic glass. You know, I'm hearing good things about Nikon, but I don't run theirs. You know, I haven't played with them. I've played with the Canon. The RF lenses are amazing. Many people have used lenses that I haven't checked out and have said that their equivalent on the RF side is even better than the exact same lens on the EF side. So that being said, I would say that probably Sony, I mean, I think that they're probably all just about as good. Obviously, I'll be, you know, partial to Canon just because I shoot it. I don't have all of the, you know, time behind the camera of a Nikon camera, so I don't know. But I'm going to venture to say today, and I'm sure, Trevor, you'll agree with me that with this. Any mirrorless camera that you get today, for the most part, the quality that you get out of it is so just magnitudes greater, better than ever than any of the cameras back, you know, 10 years ago, 15 years ago, back when we, you know, started with like a, you know, 5D or something. But they're so much better now that they're literally all on par. I saw a video, I forgot what video it was. It was like all of these YouTubers and they all tested out, you know, trying to figure out which is the different cameras. Like, I forgot if it was Nikon or Canon or Sony, whatever. And they had a whole bunch of, and they're all shooting, and then they had to figure out which, you know, which picture came from which camera. And it was next to impossible. So at this point, I think that the cameras are so good, it really doesn't matter what camera system you buy into. Now, the side note to that is, if you are new to purchasing a camera and you're going to be buying like something pro-am, like a prosumer camera or even a professional camera, I would always recommend looking at the glass first and then the body second. It's like I always say, bodies are like toilet paper. You throw them out every couple of years, whereas the lenses stay forever. When you buy high quality lenses, you're basically signing a marriage certificate to that system. And all of a sudden, that is your system, and you become this, you know, not everyone, but a lot of people, they become fanboys then of that system. They stick to that system. But the thing is that's very important with the glasses is if you're taking, you know, let's say if you're doing shots of buildings, let's say, and you need a tilt shift lens, for example, well, you need to see which manufacturer is offering a tilt shift mirrorless lens. If none of them are, well, then you're going to have to adapt. But if one of them is, you might look in that direction. The same thing with like super telephoto, you know, 1200 millimeter massive bazookas, you know? Well, if you need that because you're doing sports and you're doing sideline work, you know, for NFL or something, well, you're going to need to look at that system and not the other systems, you know, and throw on tellies or something, which you're not going to get as good of a shot because you're losing light. So, I always say look at glass whenever you're looking at a new system, because the systems themselves are literally on par. I mean, a couple of little, niceties here and there one way or another, but they're equally almost as good. I mean, what do you think?
Yeah, I agree. I think today all of the cameras are all the cameras in glass are pretty good. I mean, there's always exceptions, but I think in general, I mean, the technology has just come so far, and they're all kind of building off of each other. They're all looking at what each other is doing, and they're kind of taking notes and stuff. So, I mean, all of this stuff is really good. I mean, years ago, sure. I mean, the brand you bought and the lenses you got, I mean, that made a big difference. But today, I mean, I really do think that they're all really pretty good. I don't think you can go wrong. I think you just have to look at it as like a whole system. Like, what are you going to be doing with your camera? What is your focus of photography? I mean, we've been seeing stuff with Nikon. I mean, that kind of gives an indication that they're not doing so great. So, would I want to invest in a Nikon, body and get all into their lenses right now? I don't know. Maybe not. But that again, I'm not really doing that type of photography. Like I'm not, I'm not doing sports photography where I need to spend thousands and thousands of dollars on big lenses to do that type of work. The work I do is more like just for fun or like commercial product photography. So I've got what I need for that. And honestly, I don't need to purchase anything additional.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Absolutely. Let's see here. Lyndon says, actually, Panasonic and Olympus have been doing mirrorless the longest. Absolutely. You're right. So the reason I say Sony is because Sony started out with the full frame mirrorless with their A7, and Trevor and myself actually got to handhold and test out that piece of crap at Photo Plus Expo when it first came out. It was complete garbage. They didn't have lenses, they had nothing, and we basically had to use EF glass to test it out. The autofocus was abysmal. It was pretty much junk. And then the A7 IIs came out and all the rest, and they just blew up. They're just killing it now. They're doing such a good job. Their autofocus is nuts. Like right now, I'm using a Sony. It's the ZV-1. I turn to the left, it focuses on my right eye. I turn to the right, it focuses on my left eye. It understands distance. It just doesn't do that craziness like Panasonic does, that hunting and all the rest of the stuff. So, Sony's really come a long way. Kudos to them. I'm still, of course, I like Canon because I shoot Canon all the time, but I've never been a fanboy of anything because I shoot everything. It doesn't really matter what it is. I'm a DP, a director of photography. We do ARRIs and Reds, and a lot of times it's Panasonic, EVA ones, and whatever it is for shooting either, episodic TV or ad spots or whatever it is. So it's just, I don't really care what it is. It's just, there's always a right hammer for every job. You're going to take a sledgehammer to put in a tack, so it's just you get what you need for this. So but fanboys, I want to get into that in just a second with Starlink, but let's go ahead and finish these questions here having to do with the Nikon stuff and the photo stuff, and then I want to get into some of that. Let me see. DeWolfian says, what do you think about the Canon RF50 1.8 STM lens, cheapest RF as, yeah. So it says with my R5, but no IBIS with them. Yeah, so I personally absolutely love a quick 50. It really doesn't matter what it's on. I use a quick 50 plastic lens, that's literally $70, $80. When I lose my creativity, let's say, I'll bust that thing out and I'll use that.
I bought one of those too.
They're so good. It's a 1.8, quick 50. It's okay. It's a plastic lens, but they're just awesome. I have a 1.4, 1.2, whatever, but it's just fun. If you want something great, you would go with the 1.4, 1.2, or whatever. But I think that's an awesome lens. If you don't know, do you need, the question with IBIS is, do you need it or do you not? You know, what we've been seeing a lot with Canon recently, especially with their new, what is it, the R5C, which is their cinema. I call it the bridge camera between the cinema line, which is C100, 200, 300, C500, and 700, moving into, or C70, moving into that R5. So bringing people from R5 into cinema. Well, that camera doesn't have IBIS, all right? So what they're doing is they're using their electronic stabilization with their in-lens or their IS, image stabilization, marrying the two together and using and looking at that footage, I am impressed. So if you really need, you know, IBIS, then I would say grab a lens that has IBIS, but if you don't, I mean, I don't know. I would probably go with the cheaper lens because you'll just have more fun with it. You don't worry about it. It's lighter, you know. So that's my personal opinion with those. Let me see, Trevor. You take a look at some of them. You let me know. Thomas Stuff says I switched over to a mirrorless and then having to replace all my lenses for wildlife. Would near send me off to a poorhouse. Yeah, so that's the whole thing. A lot of people say that. They're like, oh my God, I'm going to end up in the poorhouse when I move from, you know, my current body into a mirrorless body. And yes and no. The one thing that I think Canon, for example, did really well with is they put together this adapter that instead of being a piece of crap like I expected for them to do, they put together an adapter that works amazingly well. And sometimes the adapter is actually even better because you can actually put in like NDs. I think can go into that into another video, but it's really quite cool. And what you get out of it is literally fantastic. I mean, you're not losing anything. You're not losing light. The autofocus is dead on. So, you know, you probably can get away with using your old glass on your system. You know, it doesn't, you don't say on here if you have a Nikon or if you have a, you know, what are you using? You're shooting whatever. Are you shooting a Sony? Are you shooting the Canon or whatever? So, but for the most part, what I know on the Canon side, that adapter is absolutely awesome. Do you have other questions over there? You want to jump and grab one?
Yeah, Yaman just made a statement saying I can vouch for the GM glass. I have a 14 millimeter 1.8 that I mount on my Z bodies. Exceptional lens. The Z class is also exceptional, even the cheapest kit lens.
Yeah. The G Master glass, like I was saying before, is phenomenal. Every bit as good as L glass as we would know it. Every bit as good, I think, as the RF glass. I think they're on par. You know, one might be better than the other, and that's always going to be the case with glass. You know, the same thing when it comes to, you know, you get a piece of glass from Sony or from a Canon, from Nikon, doesn't matter. You'll get one copy, all right, and the next copy will be better than this copy. And there's always going to be that fluctuation. You're not going to get stuff that's absolutely going to be perfect every single time. It's just not going to be possible. But for the most part, the G Master glass is as professional as you're going to get and rock solid for sure. Marvin does say that the image was dropping out. I want to thank you guys for that. Once again, I'm using the Starlink service right now, so there were some problems here and there. There is some latency. There's some drop-offs here and there. So let me get into some of the Starlink stuff. I did a piece during the week about Starlink and about resetting my modem as the guys over there at SpaceX told me to do. Their upper end, whatever, advanced tech support people. We reset it, and with this new Gen 3 modem or router, you have to like unplug it and plug it back in 3 times. It's kind of crazy. And I put on a switch, and I did all that. And then
do a little dance,
did a little dance, a jig, and did it. And you know, I put out my findings. What came to it? You know, like, how is my service when we first got the service? It was literally like weeks after coming out of beta. So I was not technically a beta tester, but I was like right on the cusp, just moving into it. Well, like I was saying with photography, people buy into a system and they become fanboys of the system, fangirls of the system, and then It doesn't matter what happens with that system. They feel like they always have to justify their purchase by holding it up, let's say. Doesn't matter. It could be complete trash, but they'll tell you that it's the best because once again, they're justifying what they purchased, what they bought. And I've never been like that. I'm like, in part, I don't even care. I'm not a fanboy at all. I do not, I'm not a shill. You don't see me like telling you how great something is. It's a piece of crap. I just don't do it. So when I came out with this and I showed literally live results, I did it live.
Yep.
And I looked at it and I'm like, we're getting slower speeds now than we were 4 or 5 months ago, whatever it was when we first started. And as things kind of progressed, I was looking through all of the data and I basically found out that, in my personal opinion, as a system administrator for literally 20 years, this is what I do. I build Cisco routers. I mean, I understand this stuff inside and out. By the look of the pattern on how the speed tests were going while monitoring pings and whatnot and everything else, I was saying that I feel that we're being throttled. And
right.
I put out another video a couple of days later about this whole throttling thing and how I, at this point, definitely think that we're getting throttled. And the reason being is just a day before I put out that video, SpaceX came out with a new premium model. So instead of paying $500 for the actual current system, right? The SpaceX Starlink system, Gen 3 router in the little, I call him Mr. Bevel up there, little square dish. Instead of $500 for that plus $99 per month. Okay, now there's a new premium class, whereas the equipment is $2,500, $2,500, and then the monthly charge is $500 a month, 5x also, from $99 to $500. And I said, basically seeing that and knowing that the rates that they were quoting, the average rates that they were quoting with this new $500 a month service was literally in line with the speeds, the rate that I was getting when we first came on board. All right. I was thinking to myself, well, that makes sense. Throttling is happening. All right.
Oh, yeah.
I don't care. You could believe it or not. People get really crazy with this stuff. They get butthurt. And then they just get all upset and mad and just, they in the comments, they're like, God, I hate you. They're sitting there in their basement, and I'm like, I'm just telling you what I find. And then you guys be the judge. Is it being throttled or is it not? And I really do, based on the numbers, believe that it's being throttled. And then you recently was online, you were telling me. And then after I did that video, you're starting to see a lot of people kind of, I guess, saying the same thing as what I first said.
Yeah. So I watched your video. So then the YouTube algorithm says, oh, okay, he was interested in the Starlink video. Let's show him some more. So right after your video came out, you were definitely like the first person to talk about this. All these thumbnails and all the headlines are saying new premium plan, and their faces in the thumbnail are all like pissed off looking and stuff. And they are absolutely throttling you. I mean, that was the whole point of being in beta. Beta, you get what you get. You don't get upset. And then when they go live, with their gold standard there, they can change whatever they want. And that's what they did. So, my question is that $500 worth of equipment that you bought, the dish and the router and stuff, can you still get that equipment for $500 for the lower plan, or can you only get the 20? You can. Okay.
Yes. Yeah.
All right. So that's good. So what they're doing is they're holding the equipment price and the monthly price, but just for the lower plan. And they basically gave you the benefit of the faster speed for those months.
Right.
And now they're like, well, if you want to go faster, you can pay more. But there is no way. I mean, you can't get it because of where you live. But I mean, you can get gigabit, up and down for $100 a month, all day long on fiber. And, they had cable, not so much, but on fiber. And, even with the faster speed of, of the premium plan, it's still not fast enough. I mean, in comparison to what you're paying. So, I mean, if somebody is doing, internet like work that is mission critical and they need the fastest they can get, and the only option is Starlink, well, then, I guess it's the cost of doing business. You pay
Right.
that money, you pay that $500 per month, and you just suck it up.
Yeah.
But, you know, but I don't know. I
Yeah,
think it's
it's a
crazy.
lot. I would say it's business class, but the thing is the numbers that I was getting, and I have proof of it. It's not like, obviously, I'm just not just coming up with this shit out of my head, I have
Right.
proof of it. I do videos of everything. I show exactly what's going on, and then I just give it to people, and then they be the judge. Let me see. Ciro says, hey, I've got a question here. It says, is there a way to know which server will give you the best latency? I get about 52 to 55 milliseconds. So this is the way it goes. If you're going to use your phone, let's say, to do a speed test with Starlink, they do the connection for you. You don't know where they're connecting. But if you're going to, like, let's say speedtest.net, it will show as Starlink as being who you are. It'll show your IP address. And then it will it'll pair you up with a server that is the closest to you, that gives you the best latency, the best ping, let's say. For the most part, I get anywhere from let's call it about 45 to about 55 milliseconds from me. Now, I reached out to the people over there at SpaceX, because that's what I do. I'm a pain in the ass. And I said, this is what's going on. This is what I found. What do you think? What is your thoughts? What is your, I kind of wanted to get them to say that they're throttling. And basically they said they're absolutely not throttling. That that's not the case. It's just because of, maybe weather or clouds. I'm like, and I would reply back.
No.
I'm like, I'm in Florida during the winter. There isn't a cloud in the sky. There's no humidity. 100% crystal clear or whatever, and I'm getting these speeds. And then basically they're saying, they didn't say one way or another. But just so that everyone knows, I love the service. I wouldn't trade it for anything. I don't have anything else to trade it for. I'm getting right now about 200, let's call it 180 to about 200 down, and I'm getting anywhere from about 10 to 20 up. When I first started, I was getting about 300 to 350 down with about 35 to 40 up. So we literally went down from, let's say, 30 to like 15, let's call it. I'm giving them on a good day. So in half. The same thing with the speed. At, let's say, 180, 190, I was getting over the 350 plus. So everything was cut in half. That has nothing to do with getting a couple extra people here in this area or anything like that. If it was the case, then what would happen is when I do speed tests in the dark of night, when there's no one on at 3, 4 o'clock in the morning, I would be getting these amazing speeds like you do with Comcast. I used to do this all the time.
Right.
Whereas then during the day when, Tom, Dick, and Harry is in there playing Call of Duty and crushing the damn thing, well, then of course you're going to get these horrible, speeds. So that's not the case. The speeds that we're getting are constant. And when you look at the test, and I don't care, any of you guys that have Starlink right now, do some speedtest.net tests. Watch your speed. For example, an up speed. You'll see it go like this, boom. It'll hit like, let's say 30, 40, and then start trickling back down, okay? That is hitting that cap. That's what we do, like on these Cisco routers. We hit the cap and then we slowly trickle people off, right? Because let's say the cap is 15 meg or is 20 meg. It'll immediately bounce and hit that like top like 30, 40, and then start trickling back to the amount that we want them to get and nothing more. So watch that. Now you might not. Now there's people that have told me in the chat that, hey, we're not being throttled. My grandmother is getting like 470 down speeds in Canada or something. God bless you. That's freaking awesome. If that's the case, I mean, great. The majority of the people that I'm finding are getting anywhere from 100 to 200 down now. That's it.
Yeah. And they will catch up with those accounts, because when you talk to their tech support, they're looking at your plan saying, oh, you're on the basic plan. No, we're absolutely not throttling you. You're getting what you're supposed to be getting. Now, if you were on the premium plan paying $500 a month and you contacted them and said you were getting 100 and change down, they'd be like, oh, okay, well, so something's wrong. So they're definitely, they were throttling you, but throttling you to the basic plan based on what you're paying every month. And I mean, it's kind of a bummer. I mean, but like you said, what choice do you have? I mean, your old DSL that you have at the house there, I mean, or at the studio, I mean, what were you getting on that? Somebody was actually asking.
Yeah.
Kilo was asking.
Who was asking? Kilo Hotel?
Kilo.
Oh, yeah. So, hey, what's going on, Kilo? So in studio through AT&T, we were getting 15 megs down and 1.5 up. Now, okay, so I'm going to get a little geeky and techie here, all right? Some of you guys like it, some of you don't. So AT&T are just, they are just like any of the other just monopolies out there. They will not bring in fiber into this area because they say there's not enough homes. Now, understand that we have UVerse. We used to have DSL. DSL is a powered network, right? Meaning that there's power going down the line, meaning that you can push that data further. We're currently about 8,000 feet, 8,500 feet from the D-SLAM. All right, from the box, let's call it. The box of the D-SLAM is basically where fiber goes into this node, and then it gets broken down from fiber, basically from light, into copper, and then comes out to all of the locations. Well, at 8,500 feet, it was okay through DSL, but now that they went to UVerse, UVerse is no longer a powered data system. UVerse travels over the same shitty lines, these little tiny hair-like lines. It's not like coaxial cable, right? It's like Cat3 at best, really junk, all right?
Like telephone
cables,
line.
Right. Yeah. And it's not like coaxial where it's really thick like on, that you have through Comcast or any other, cable company. So they can't push it because there's no way to push it. It's just a signal. And the signal degrades every 1,000 feet. And by the time it gets to 8,000 feet, we're sitting at, like I said, 15 meg down and 1.5 up. That's all that we can get. And that is, with a bonded pair. So I literally have two pairs that are running simultaneously bonded together to create 15 meg and 1.5 meg. It's pathetic, is what it is. It's literally pathetic. Yeah. When that's all they have to do is in the area, just simply put a node and then run, if they wanted to, run the light or run the fiber to that node and then branch out from there and make all like a spider and make all of these little nodes all over. And now you'd be able to hit normal, like literally DSL. UVerse, you can get up to 100, 200 meg without a problem, bidirectional. But you have to be close to the D-SLAM. You have to be close to that node, to the box. If you're not, you're screwed. So anyways, that's the long of it. That's the skinny, so to speak. So we cannot get it. And right now, that's why I'm ecstatic with what Elon Musk is doing. Not just because I can get high speed here now where we couldn't before, but I like what he's doing and his thought process. Now, some people like him, some people don't. I like the idea or the concept of providing high speed to people where where people can't get it. And I think that that's very powerful. I think it's powerful that he'll be able to provide, Wi-Fi into all airlines, that are flying in the air, right? I think that it's really powerful that he can provide high speed in the top of a mountain somewhere in the middle of nowhere. I think it's awesome that he can provide high speed in the middle of the ocean someplace. So there's a lot of stuff that I think that is going to be, I think that he's going to do really well. But I think it's going to have to wait till the Gen 2, let's say, or the Starlink 2 come out, whereas the big rockets can take those satellites up there. Just 2 days ago, we saw 59 more satellites get launched up over right here in Cape Canaveral, up the road from me, through one of their Falcon 9s. But they can only take 59 at a time. That new heavy load rocket thing that's supposed to be out before the end of the year is going to be able to take, like, I don't know, 400 or something, a whole crap ton of them. So, you know, when we get to that time, they're going to have lasers that communicate from satellite to satellite, so that each one have to be right over one of these stations, one of these ground stations. So, you know, there's a lot of stuff that they're doing. I'm looking forward to seeing how it goes. But like I said, you know, even though I'm a fan, I'm not a fanboy, and I'm going to just tell it how I see it, and then allow people to hopefully judge for themselves and not get upset just because I'm saying that I think what this is going on. You know, if it's not going on with you, I think it's fantastic. And then let us know in the comment area, but just don't get all upset. People get mad.
Yeah.
Let's see.
Yeah, of course.
What else do we got here? You got some more comments you want to jump into here? Let's see. We got 3:17. We don't want to go too long on a Friday. A lot of people, I'm sure, want to kind of hang out. Let me see. Let's see. Yemen says absolutely true about fanboys. There's a thin line between having a preference for a specific brand and being a fanboy. Fanboys miss out on a lot. Absolutely. You know, you just... There's just no reason for it. All right. You made a decision. If it's wrong or right, just say it's wrong or right, and then that's it. You don't have to get crazy. Let's see. 55-pound fiber. 900, man. So you're getting so look at this, in Scotland for 55 pound, they're getting 900, which I'm guessing that's probably a gigabit, just under a gigabit.
Yeah, gigabit
I don't know if it's bi-directional. Devovian, is that bi-directional? Let me know. That would be freaking awesome. That would be unbelievable. Edward says, do you use VPN tunnel when you use Starlink? I do not use a VPN. You could. So the new Starlink, I haven't done a video on it yet, but the new Starlink router does allow you to bypass the router itself and not use its Wi-Fi. And as long as you have an Ethernet dongle, you can use another router to do all of the niceties, let's say, because you have no access to anything inside of Elon's router. Okay, he doesn't let you touch anything in there. So they do have that. They made it available. It's called bridge mode. They call it something else. I'll look it up in the meantime, but it is bridge mode is what it's called. And it does allow you to use another router instead of the router that you have, which is awesome. I personally don't need it because I use a switch. So I use the dongle coming out into a switch. It's a managed switch, and then I have control over everything already anyways. So I don't really need it, so to speak. I don't really need it. Anyways, I'm going to look that up. Let's see what other ones, questions. How does that work? As far as the VPN, I don't know because I'm not using a VPN on the Starlink. Was a solar eruption maybe an impact too? Yeah. So anytime you have any type of solar flares or anything like that, you're going to end up with interruptions on all satellites. That means GPS satellites, any kind of navigational satellites, any kind of data satellites, like all of the Starlink, everything. Doesn't matter what it is. HughesNet, all the satellites will be affected. That is on the, let's say, sunny side, so to speak, side of the planet. That's it. I mean...
I would say in general, I mean, your satellite is a good option if you don't have any other options. It's just like satellite TV. I mean, there's no doubt you're going to get a better, more reliable connection for your television if you're doing it over cable or some type of wired connection. But again, you have to work with what you've got available, you know, and if your UVerse is what it is and you're not able to go any faster with a wire, then you know what, maybe this satellite is your answer. I mean, again, you got to look at your usage. So in your vicinity there, I mean, you've got, you're streaming TV, you're doing, playing online games, you're doing your regular internet. I mean, regular web browsing uses hardly any bandwidth at all. I mean, it's very, very lightweight. That's the whole point of it.
Absolutely.
That's why your web pages load fast. So you're not really using much bandwidth. The only time you're using slamming bandwidth is what we're doing right now. Live streaming, uploading huge video files to YouTube. I mean, that's where you really start hitting it hard. And, but with what you've got with Starlink, even if it's fluctuates a little bit, even if it drops a little bit, your speed is still so much faster. And for $100 a month, I mean, my opinion, I think it's worth it.
Absolutely.
I would spend, the time you save on your file uploads, and without Starlink, we would be having a very difficult time streaming right now.
Oh,
It would,
absolutely, absolutely, and that's why, like I said, I mean, I love the service. I think it's fantastic. So let me show you guys real quick. Let me pull my big head up here. So I'm gonna see if we can get in there. Can you see that? So this is like the app, as we see it whenever we're in the Starlink. If you go over to settings, right? That's what it looks like, right? So if you go to settings, if you look right about here, the second toggle down here, or no, excuse me, the third one, it says bypass Starlink Wi-Fi, right? Yeah, bypass Starlink Wi-Fi router. Do you see that? If you turn that on, it immediately turns off Wi-Fi on the router itself and allows you to take that signal that's coming out of your Ethernet dongle and use it for any router that you want. So a lot of people, for example, have like a mesh network or something. Well, doing that allows you to keep your mesh network because now you're going to get your data into the mesh and be able to propagate it out through your mesh. So there's different reasons for doing different things. I can also just use, like I said, a managed switch, take that signal and then pump it into the mesh going the opposite way. So, maybe I can do some videos on that too. But all in all, now there is a means to be able to bypass the router that you couldn't have, just a few months ago. It just wasn't available. You had to use their stuff. Now, if you're buying Starlink today, make sure that you get the dongle because they've done this dongleification like with, Apple products. You have to buy, it's $20 for the Ethernet dongle. Buy it. It's well worth it. So
yeah,
let me see.
absolutely.
DeWolfian says 900 down and 110 up. Holy crap. Okay, that is some nice speed for the price. I mean, it's just ridiculous at 55, pound. That's crazy. That's crazy. Edward says $59. I guess that's 1,000, not 10,000. I'm guessing. Probably gigabit bidirectional over there in Stockholm in Sweden. That's crazy. That is really, really, really sweet. And they give you 5 IP addresses. Oh man,
Yeah, that's great.
people in the U.S. don't get this, and I'm first generation American. All of my family comes from Europe, so and I still have relatives in Europe. And when I hear them speaking, they could literally be in wine country or in the Rhine or in Sicily, literally in wine. And then here in the U.S., you have so many areas that are literally like me with 15 megabytes and 1.5 megabits. Like, how is it even freaking possible, right? But this is what happens. The people in the U.S., they don't understand. They think that they have the best here. And the truth of the matter is they're so far mistaken. It is absolutely, absolutely not the truth. Now, if you have a brand new establishment somewhere, then yes, you probably have a good fiber connection. But for the most part, if you're in any type of rural area, you got just about nothing. So hopefully that changes. I guess we should probably take the last questions and then get off here because it is already 3:25, and this way we'll call it by 3:30. Let's see. Any other questions you see pop up?
Not questions. No.
Okay. All right. So let me ask for you, just in case there's other people that want to know. Because I know we came on. I didn't even ask you to introduce yourself. Tell everyone who you are real quick. I know if they've been with us, doing these lives on Fridays, in the past, they'll know who you are. But if not, who are you, Trev? Who the hell are you?
Yes, who am I? That's the question, right?
Yeah.
So I am a graphic designer, a web designer, a photographer. I have my own business called Current Media Group, and I've been running this for the past 12 years, and I've been in the industry for over 30 years now. Kind of scary to say, but
You're
it's been a
getting
long
old.
time. I'm getting old. Yep.
Absolutely. I get it. I
So
get
I
it.
spend my days building websites for corporations, for associations, nonprofits, and I recently just launched a new service in December called Launch Engine. You could find it at launchengine.net, and basically it's a WAS, a websites as a service business. So what we've done is we've created something that is a streamlined process for creating a website at a very affordable price and get you up and running very quickly in 10 business days.
Pretty quick. Pretty
Yeah.
quick.
Yep.
Can't beat that. That's for sure. I mean, man, that's pretty good. Let me go ahead and switch over real quick. But some people I know in the past were asking me about this whole premium thing and what does it look like. Let me go ahead and do this. And so I'll put our little heads down here so you guys can see us in the meantime. But so if you haven't seen any of the brand new information about the Starlink, this is what it looks like. So when you go over to their website, you would do /premium, or you would click on the top where it says premium, and it takes you to this, and you can see that they're going to be rolling this thing out Q2 of 2022. And this is where you're going to see this new antenna. It's going to be the exact same type of antenna that we have currently, which is that square antenna. Instead of the round antenna, it's square. But as you can see, what they're talking about here, more throughput. It's a bigger antenna is the whole idea. So that it's a larger, I guess, radius as far as what it can actually see in the sky. So that's always nice. Also, as far as the latency, they say high speed, low latency. That's kind of on par, because supposedly our standard service as well as the premium service has the same latency, 20 to 40 latency. Your miles may vary, but this is where they finally did come up with the exact numbers on what you're going to get out of it and how much. They also say here that you have 24-hour service, priority support, let's say, but bear in mind, you're looking at $500 every single month for their service and $2,500 for the actual hardware, in comparison to $500 for the hardware.
Yeah,
So
it's crazy.
it's a lot. And this was, I just don't know how well, Trevor, they're going to do with this. And the reason I say that is because, so $2,500 for the hardware, $500 for the service. You, like anyone with half sense, would say, okay, this is directed towards businesses, right? Well, the majority of businesses are in an environment that most businesses are in, that are in cities. In cities, right, we have fiber everywhere, right?
Yeah.
Cities have
Yep.
fiber. Cities have coaxial cable, at least, everywhere, that allows you to have 200, 300, 400 bi-directional up and down. So I just don't see where this service is going to be directed to. Like, who will pay the $2,500 for the hardware and then pay the $500 a month? Someone in their house is probably not going to do it unless they run a big business, not a small mom and pop, like a big business out of their home. Then I can see it. Like near me, so where I'm located, it's equestrian. So I'm on 5 acres. The area where I am is all dressage and polo. All right. So here I can see when you have $1 million horse, probably 10 of them, that you are running, doing dressage with, polo, whatnot, and you're trying to transmit what is going on at this event local here. $2,500 for the actual hardware and $500 a month is a spit in the bucket. It is nothing. So in a case like this, I could say, okay, sure, because in this area we don't have high speed. So I would say, yeah, but how many of these are there? It goes back to my thinking on what ended up happening with Olympus. Olympus came out with a camera that was $3,000. That was a Micro Four Thirds. And when they did, I said that they were going to go out of business. And people were like, you're an idiot. All right, that will never happen. 2 or 3 months later, that was the end of them. They ended up getting bought out by the same company that bought out Sony's Vaio. And, now we have OMD. Do they make a go of it? I don't know. We're going to see with the next camera that they come out with. But it's the thing of putting something out there that's so expensive that you have to, say, okay, so who is going to get that? I don't know. I mean, just a mom pop kind of person, like in a house is not going to spend $500 a month for internet for the most part.
No, this is just a cash play. They, you got to think about it. So these satellites are up in the sky and they are delivering the same internet quality for both plans. And, at the 99 a month, you're getting the same quality, the same latency, you're different download and upload speed, but it's the same quality of internet as you would get at the premium plan. So the only people that are going to pay for that are people that have the money to do so. It's not out of necessity. It's just because they want the greatest speed they can get and they have the money to pay for it. No business owner, I mean, in general, a regular business doesn't need that fast of an internet connection to do business. I mean, even running an e-commerce website where you're on there every day and you're in there, pulling out orders and shipping stuff and whatever. You don't need that much speed. The only time you need that type of speed is if you're doing a lot of streaming of video. Even audio is like nothing. That's a drop in the bucket.
No, absolutely.
So, if you're streaming, HD or 4K video, to your, 4K TV, then sure, the faster the better. Or if you have a lot of people on the internet, like right now, both my kids are home today. We had a snow and ice day. So I know my son is up there. He's got Discord running with, 5, 6 of his friends. They're playing a game. They got video going. I mean, they're pulling down a lot. And I'm sending my 1080p signal to you. Right. And on our wired connection of, like 120 down, 30 up, no problem. Yeah. I mean, no problem at all. It's coming right through. Oh, I mean, the biggest problem that we're seeing in the stream, and that other people have commented, I've noticed the spinning wheel of death on the YouTube player right now a few times. And, what's happening is we're getting a hiccup. We're getting basically a break in the signal that's just a little bit too long for YouTube's liking. Yeah. So it will pause. So I simply go and I click refresh on the browser and it's fine. It's back working. Right.
No, absolutely. It's, Frosty Flakes says, you've been musked. I love it. Yeah, no, that's it's it's kind of true. I mean, the guy, he just knows. I mean, he knows how to make money, but some of the businesses, some of the things that he does just doesn't work out. So I was kind of skeptical, but I'm happy that things are going as well as they are, even though I put out there that I feel like we're getting throttled, and I do believe that I am 100% correct, even though people got all pissed off with me. I'm okay with that. Let me see. William Fay says 150 megabits on day one. Next day, 20 to 65 consistently. I didn't wait a year for this lackluster performance. And yeah, that's a problem. That is a problem. And a lot of people are seeing that and they're saying, well, what is this? Is this going to work its way out? Just keep in mind, William, that this is beta. Even though it came out of beta in like October of last year, it's still, to me, beta. I mean, it's relatively new. Right now, there's about 2,000 satellites out there, and they're saying that they can hit about 4,800 satellites before they have to ask for permission to put more up there. And I think he shot out like, I think 59 like yesterday, I think another 59. But before that, I think there was like 3 other launches right out of Cape Canaveral, right up the road from me with those Falcon 9s of 59, 59, 50. There's got to be over 200 that are sitting there in line to go into, let's say, functioning work, let's say. I'm going to see if I can find that. Let me see. Go into any other question while I look this up, Trevor, because this is very interesting because you can actually see the satellites.
Yeah, Edward says he's got 1,000 up and 1,000 down. And he said it's sufficient for transmission, and a gigabit Ethernet or a gigabit connection. I mean, that's sufficient for pretty much anything. I mean, you've got to really be slamming the internet hard in order to bog
Right.
that type of connection down.
Right. All right. So here you go. So I just brought this up. So check this out. So this right here is a map of Starlink's current satellites that are up there. Every one of these white dots that you see here is a Starlink satellite. So if we push in here, I'm down here in Florida. See where I'm? I'm right here. They have 3 ground stations now. There's one here at Fort Lauderdale, one in Punta Gorda, this new one at this Kensingtonville, whatever. So there's 3 ground stations near me. And I'm literally right here in the middle, right around, let's say, the lake area. So I have 3 very close. So I'm very fortunate. And I reached out to Starlink about this too, to the SpaceX people. I said, I'm currently using, if I go and do a ping test or if I go and check out what server I'm using, what ground station, do you know where I'm using, what ground station I'm connected to? I am connected to Virginia, up here.
Well, that makes no sense.
Exactly. I'm literally, up all the way up here in comparison to down here. So I asked him, I said, so knowing that I have 3 ground stations right next to me, can I get onto one of those ground stations? Can you send me a new IP? And they basically said, sorry, we can't do that as of yet. So once again, people, it is new. It's beta. Even though as a system administrator, I understand how this stuff works and I can communicate with them effectively, they still don't have the answers for me because they can't do it. Like, even though it would be very easy for them to give me an IP address out of this Kensington or whatever, Kensingtonville or Punta Gorda or Fort Lauderdale, instead of in Virginia, all the way the hell up here, they can't or they won't. I don't know. But now let me back out. Do you see this line right here, guys? Do you see this line? This line is the precession or a constellation of the satellites that were just launched, okay? If we come down here, let me rotate the globe. Do you see this line over here? That's another line of satellites that were just launched. You see this line here? Same thing. You see this line right here? Same thing. So that's 4 lines. There's this one. So there's 4 lines of satellites that are currently in orbit that are not yet operational. What will happen is for example, this line right here will start breaking apart and falling into place where they want those specific satellites to sit, geolocate, let's say. So all of these lines will eventually turn into these little white dots. But this just shows you how many satellites they have out there. Literally 4 bunches currently, 4 constellations of them currently that are waiting to be put into use. And they'll look just like this. You see the map with all of these like 550.6 km and 549.3 km. So all of these are satellites that are wandering around. And once again, those will all be put into service in short order. So they're working on it. It's going to get better. Once again, I'm very happy with the service, but I do think that they are throttling. But, for me, if they throttle down to this level, if they keep me up to about 20 megs up, I'll be okay with it. The up speed is very important to me. Down speed, anything over 200 is a ton anyways. I don't really need all that, but the up
No.
speed is what's very important to me. So when I upload to you guys videos, or if we go live, we don't have any hiccups or anything like that. So the other thing that I don't want to see is data caps. If they end up with a data cap, then you might as well be on 5G and just forget it. All right?
Yeah,
So
yeah.
I don't think that they'll do a data cap, but you just never know these days. These big companies can do whatever the hell they want. So, you know,
They can.
fingers
I mean,
crossed.
you're kind of a captive audience in that case. I mean, if they are the only solution for you for high speed, you have to play by their game.
Right.
Otherwise you go back to your Uverse and you get what you get.
Yeah, and don't get upset.
That's right. That's right.
That's it. That's it. That's just the way it is. So, but anyways, we're going to get out here. I want to thank everyone for hanging out. It is Friday, TGIF. Many blessings to all of you guys. I hope you just have a wonderful, wonderful weekend. Once again, Trevor, thank you for coming out and hanging out. I know you were really busy today, and I really do appreciate you hanging out with me today. Going forward, what I'm going to do is anyone, just remember, if you're listening right now, if you want to come on with us, there's another spot. You see on that, where that mug is, that little mug on the right-hand side, there's another spot for you to sit here and hang out with us and just chat. So going forward next week, I'm going to bring one of you guys online with me. You can even be in the chat right now. I can send you over to the green room, and then literally within moments, you can be on with us. I just haven't had time to do it today, but moving forward into next week, Trevor, if you come on with me once again next Friday, I think we'll bring someone else on with us. So that's all you need to have is a video camera on. Doesn't matter if it's webcam, it doesn't make a difference. And audio, and you're good. I'll send you a link, and then you can come on and hang out with us and just chat. And I can kind of rotate people in and out. And you guys can kind of hang out in the green room and talk with each other and whatnot, and then come here with us live. So I think that'd be just a hell of a lot of fun. So we'll see.
It would be
if it
fun.
works out.
Yeah, and ideally those of who are in the chat with those fast internet connections, so that way you can send us a good quality video.
That's right. So anyways, guys, thank you so much. Once again, many blessings. We'll see you down the road, probably Monday. Watch that video. It's going to be coming out probably tomorrow, if not Monday, talking about the latest and greatest with the, increases when it comes to Canon and Nikon. I get into that a little bit deeper, so hang in there. I gave you a sneak peek because you're here live. Anyways, guys, thanks a lot. We'll see you in the next one. Have a great weekend. Take care now.